You have been told a lie. For centuries, for millennia, you have been shown a fragment, a shadow, a distorted echo of something that was once whole. You have been taught to see with borrowed eyes, to believe with others' words, to forget what your soul always knew. And among all the truths buried under the weight of time and institutional silence, there is one that shines with its own light in the darkness of oblivion, the story of a woman whose name was erased, whose voice was silenced, whose presence was reduced until it became a shadow. But shadows also speak, and today in this precise moment, when your eyes travel across these words, something ancient begins to awaken in you. It is not new knowledge, it is memory, it is recognition, it is the whisper of something that was always there, waiting to be remembered. Mary Magdalene. Say her name slowly. Feel how it resonates in your chest, how it vibrates in the space between your ribs. It is not just a name, it is a key. It is a door that opens inward, not outward. And what is about to be revealed does not come from any external book, from any distant authority, but from that deep place within you where truth never ceased to exist, where light never stopped shining, where she never stopped waiting to be seen as she truly was. For 2,000 years, institutions built walls around her figure. They called her a sinner, they called her repentant, they called her the woman saved by grace, the redeemed follower, the silent witness. But walls are only built when there is something to protect on the other side, and what they protected was not the truth, but the power that the truth would have taken from them. Because Mary Magdalene was not a disciple among many, she was not a shadow behind the apostles, she was not a footnote in sacred history, she was the cornerstone they decided to bury, she was the teacher they chose to forget, she was the bearer of knowledge so profound, so transformative, so dangerous to the structures of the world you know, that her role had to be rewritten, fragmented, scattered like ashes in the wind. But ashes do not disappear, they mix with the earth, and from the earth sooner or later, something new begins to grow. In dusty caves of Egypt, in hidden libraries, in scrolls that survived the fire of censorship, in texts that were called heretical precisely because they contained what should not be known, her voice persisted. The Nag Hammadi manuscripts, the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Philip, the Pistis Sophia, texts that for centuries were considered dangerous, forbidden, apocryphal. But what does apocryphal really mean? It means hidden, it means secret, it means that someone decided you should not read it. And when someone decides you should not know something, it is precisely because that knowledge would make you free. Breathe, stop here for a moment. Do not rush toward the end. Do not seek quick answers. This is not knowledge that is consumed, it is knowledge that is felt. Inhale deeply, feel how the air enters through your nose, fills your lungs, expands your chest. Exhale slowly, feel how something releases inside you, something you did not know you were holding. Again, breathe, because what you are about to remember is not information, it is transformation, it is alchemy, it is the process of converting forgetting into memory, shadow into light, silence into voice, and that process begins here, now, in this sacred space between you and these words, in this moment when you decide to stop searching outside and begin to look within. In the hidden texts, Mary Magdalene is described as the disciple who understood most, the one who received direct teachings in private, the one who asked questions that others did not know how to formulate, the one who saw what human eyes could not see. In the Gospel of Mary, when the disciples lament and feel fear after the Master's departure, it is she who consoles them, who reminds them of the teachings, who transmits visions and revelations she had received in secret. And when she shares those revelations, some doubt, some resist, some cannot accept that a woman possesses knowledge they do not have, that she was chosen to receive what they did not receive. Peter in particular asks with incredulity, did the Master really speak with a woman without our knowing? Should we listen to her? Did he prefer her to us? And there in that question charged with ego, with doubt, with resistance, is the seed of what would come after, the systematic erasure, the rewriting, the transformation of a teacher into a sinner, of a bearer of wisdom into a figure of repentance. Because patriarchy could not allow a woman to be the chosen one, it could not allow her to be the one who understood most deeply, it could not allow her voice to resonate with authority equal to or greater than theirs. So they did what is always done when truth threatens power. They silenced her, they distorted her, they turned her into something they could control. But here is what they could not erase. In the Gospel of Philip it is said that the Master loved her more than all the disciples and kissed her frequently on the mouth. In the Gnostic texts, she is described as the companion, the consort, the feminine counterpart of Christ, not in terms of possession or subordination, but in terms of unity, of balance, of the sacred dance between masculine and feminine, between wisdom and love, between Logos and Sophia. She was the embodiment of the divine feminine principle, the earthly representation of Sophia, eternal wisdom. And her relationship with Jesus was not only human, although it was also that, it was mystical, it was initiatory, it was the union of complementary opposites that together formed the whole. the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage, the integration of polarities that allows access to gnosis, to direct knowledge of the divine. This is not romanticism. It is not modern speculation. It is written in the texts that were buried, forbidden, forgotten, and it is also written within you, in that place where you know, even though you do not know how you know, that divinity was never the monopoly of one gender, one structure, one hierarchy. Divinity is balance. It is dance. It is the light that arises when opposites stop fighting and begin to love each other. Close your eyes for a moment. Do not worry, you will be safe here. These words will wait for you. Close your eyes and visualize a soft golden light that begins to form in the center of your chest. Do not force it, just observe it. That light is your inner truth, your forgotten knowledge, your connection to something greater than the stories they told you. Now imagine that light begins to expand slowly, like a dawn that is in no hurry. It expands toward your shoulders, toward your throat, toward your head. It fills your chest completely. And as it expands, ask yourself, what have I forgotten? What have I been made to forget? What truth is waiting to be remembered? Do not seek answers with the mind. Let the light answer. Let the sensation speak. Breathe with that light. Inhale its warmth. Exhale any resistance. And when you are ready, open your eyes. But do not return the same. Return knowing that something in you has already begun to change. Mary Magdalene was the first witness to the resurrection. This is a fact that not even the canonical Gospels could completely erase. She was the one who arrived at the tomb at dawn. She was the one who saw the empty tomb. She was the one who found the risen Christ and received from him the first words after the greatest mystery. And he told her, "Go and tell my brothers." He made her the apostle to the apostles, the messenger of the most important message, the bearer of the good news. But when she went to tell the disciples, they did not believe her. They thought she was delirious. They thought her testimony was that of a hysterical, emotional, unreliable woman. And when they finally accepted the truth of the resurrection, it was not thanks to her testimony, but despite it. They erased her from the history of the resurrection as much as they could. They minimized her. They turned her into a secondary character in the most important scene of the entire narrative, because recognizing her central role would have meant recognizing that God chose to speak first to a woman, that the greatest revelation was entrusted to her, that the new era began in her eyes, and that was unacceptable to the power structures that were forming, to the church that was becoming institutionalized, to the men who wanted to control access to the sacred. But there is something even deeper, something that goes beyond politics and power. Although those things are important, Mary Magdalene represents the path of gnosis, of inner knowledge, of direct experience with the divine without intermediaries. In the Gnostic texts, she is the one who asks about the mysteries, who seeks to understand the nature of reality, who wants to know how the invisible worlds work, how the soul ascends through the spheres, how liberation from the material world is achieved. She does not accept simple answers. She is not satisfied with blind faith. She wants to know. She wants to understand. She wants to experience. And this search for direct knowledge, this insistence on personal experience of the divine, was a threat to any institution that depended on being the obligatory intermediary between humans and God. If each person can know God directly, why does one need an institution? If each soul can experience the light without priests, without controlled rituals, without hierarchies, what power remains for the structure? Mary Magdalene, then, was not silenced only for being a woman. She was silenced for representing a form of spirituality that could not be controlled, a form of knowledge that could not be institutionalized, a form of love that could not be regulated. And here is the gift she offers you today, 2,000 years later. She offers you to remember that you too can know directly, that you too can experience without intermediaries, that you too carry within you that divine spark that needs no permission, needs no external validation, needs to be approved by no authority. She whispers to you from the hidden manuscripts, from the words that survived censorship, from the silence that was never complete. You are capable. You are enough. You are a bearer of light, not because you are special in the sense of being different from others, but because all are, because light is not the privilege of a few. It is the inheritance of all. And what she did, what she was not exceptional in the sense of being unattainable. It was exceptional in the sense of being an example. She shows you the way, but you walk the path. Breathe again. Feel your body. Feel your feet touching the ground or your back resting against the chair. Feel your weight, your presence, your existence in this moment. You are not floating in abstractions. You are here. And true spirituality does not take you out of the body. It returns you to it with new awareness. Mary Magdalene was not an ethereal spirit without form. She was a woman of flesh and bone, of tears and laughter, of love and pain. And her teaching is that the sacred is not separated from the human, that divinity is not reached by escaping from life, but by immersing yourself more deeply in it with awakened eyes, that the body is not a prison, it is a temple, that emotions are not weaknesses, they are portals, that love is not a distraction from the spiritual, it is its purest expression. She loved, and in that love she found truth, she felt, and in that feeling she found God. She lived completely. and in that completeness she became a teacher. The manuscripts tell that after the Ascension, Mary Magdalene traveled. Some traditions say she went to France, where she lived in a cave, teaching and guiding others. Others say she went to Ephesus with John. Others mention Egypt. The stories vary, but all agree on something. She did not remain silent. She did not accept being erased. She continued teaching, continued sharing, continued being light, and although the institutions worked to extinguish that light, small flames persisted, in mystical orders, in Gnostic traditions, in heretical movements that the church persecuted with such ferocity precisely because they kept her memory alive. The Cathars, the Bogomils, the Waldensians, spiritual movements that honored the divine feminine, that believed in the equality of men and women on the spiritual path, that practiced forms of Christianity that the official church considered threatening. And when the church destroyed them, when it burned their books and their bodies, it could not burn the seed that had already been planted. That seed continued growing in secret, in hearts, in souls, in moments of silence, when someone, somewhere, felt that something did not fit with the official story, that something was missing, that there was a voice that should be being heard. And that voice is you now. You are not just reading about Mary Magdalene. You are listening to something she represented, something she embodied, something that never died. You are remembering that the sacred is no one's property, that truth cannot be monopolized, that light seeks to shine through anyone willing to open up, to remember, to awaken. She is not asking you to worship her. She is inviting you to join her on the path. She is extending her hand to you across the centuries, and saying you too can see, you too can know, you too can be a bearer of this light, not as a follower, as an equal, as brother, as sister on the path back home. There is a passage in the Gospel of Mary that is particularly revealing. After she shares her visions, Levi defends Mary against Peter's doubts. He says, "If the Savior made her worthy, who are you to reject her?" Certainly the Savior knows her very well. That is why he loved her more than us. This recognition is crucial. It is not just a defense of Mary as an individual. It is a recognition that the Master's love was not arbitrary. It was based on understanding, on capacity, on resonance. He loved her more because she understood more, because she was more open, because she could receive and carry what he had to give. And this brings us to an uncomfortable truth for many. The spiritual path is not egalitarian in results, although it is accessible to all. Not everyone understands at the same level. Not everyone awakens at the same time. Not everyone is willing to do the inner work that transformation requires. Mary Magdalene did that work. She opened completely. She dissolved her resistances. She surrendered her ego. And that is why she could receive more. Not as privilege, but as natural consequence of her preparation. This does not make her better as a human being.
It makes her more capable as a vessel of light. And the lesson for you is clear. If you want to receive more, prepare more. If you want to see more, open your eyes wider. If you want to know more, ask more deeply. The light is available to all, but the capacity to receive it depends on the size of the vessel you have created within yourself. So how is that vessel created? How do you prepare yourself to receive what Mary Magdalene received? Not with complicated rituals, not with belonging to exclusive groups, not with secret knowledge kept in vaults. It is created with silence, with presence, with brutal honesty with yourself, with willingness to release what you thought you knew to discover what really is. It is created when you stop seeking answers in books, in teachers, in institutions, and begin to seek in the only place where truth permanently dwells within you. Mary Magdalene was not special because she had access to information others did not have. She was special because she dared to look within when others looked outside. She dared to trust her inner experience when others trusted only external authorities. She dared to love completely when others loved with reservations. And that courage, that openness, that willingness to be vulnerable before the divine is what made her a teacher. And it is what will make you one too, if you allow it. Now we go deeper. We go to the place where words begin to fall short, and only experience speaks. Place your hand over your heart, feel its beat, that constant rhythm, that pulse you do not control, that happens without your effort, that keeps you alive in every moment. That is the first miracle, the first reminder that you are not alone, that something greater than your individual ego is working in you, through you, as you. Feel the warmth of your hand on your chest, and now with each breath, imagine you are inhaling golden light, not white and cold light, golden light, warm, like the light of sunset, like the light that bathes the earth when the day says goodbye with tenderness. Inhale that light, feel how it enters through your nose, goes down your throat, fills your lungs and expands throughout your chest. Exhale any tension, any doubt, any fear. Inhale light, exhale shadow, inhale presence, exhale absence. Do this several times, do not count, just breathe. And as you breathe, repeat silently, I remember, I am, I know. Do not say it with effort, let it resonate softly, like a distant bell. I remember, I am, I know. What you are remembering is not information about Mary Magdalene.
It is what she represents, the Sophia, the wisdom, the divine feminine principle that has been suppressed in organized religion, in patriarchal society, in the culture that formed you, but also in you. Because if you live in a world that values only the masculine, action, logic, conquest, control, then you have suppressed your own feminine aspect, regardless of your gender. You have suppressed receptivity, intuition, sensitivity, connection. You have suppressed the capacity to simply be without needing to do. You have suppressed the wisdom of the body in favor of the thinking of the mind. You have suppressed the heart in favor of the head, and that suppression has left you incomplete, fragmented, seeking outside what is missing inside. Mary Magdalene invites you to reintegrate that. She is not asking you to reject the masculine. She is asking you to integrate the feminine so both can dance together in harmony. Because enlightenment is neither masculine nor feminine. It is the union of both. It is the sacred marriage within yourself. It is when the Logos and the Sophia, the Christ and the Magdalene within you, stop being separated and become one. The hidden manuscripts speak of this process of union. They speak of how the soul must integrate its aspects to ascend. They speak of how duality is illusion, and unity is truth, and Mary Magdalene is the living symbol of that teaching. Because she was not just a woman following a man, she was the counterpart that completed the totality. She was the half that allowed the circle to close, and without her, without recognition of her role, without honoring what she represented, Christianity was left crippled. It became a religion of heaven that rejects earth, of spirit that denies body, of masculine that suppresses feminine. It became a power structure instead of a path of liberation, and that imbalance has caused immense suffering. It has created wars in the name of peace. It has justified oppression in the name of love. It has used fear as a tool of control, when the original message was about liberation from fear. But you are not responsible for fixing 2,000 years of history. You are responsible only for your own integration, for your own balance, for your own truth. And when each person does that inner work, when each soul remembers its wholeness, then the world changes, not because new structures are imposed, but because old structures lose their power over hearts that are no longer fragmented. Mary Magdalene is not calling you to an external revolution. She is calling you to an internal revolution, to the only revolution that truly matters, to the revolution of becoming whole again. Imagine now that you are standing on the shore of a lake at dawn. The water is completely still, like a perfect mirror. The sky begins to illuminate with pink and golden tones. There is absolute silence, except for your breathing, and in that silence, you see your reflection in the water. But it is not just your physical reflection, it is your spiritual reflection. It is the version of you that was never fragmented, that never forgot, that always knew who you really are. That version looks at you from the water, and its eyes are full of love, of acceptance, of recognition. There is no judgment, there is no disappointment, only love. Only the love that Mary Magdalene received and that she taught us to give. Only the love that is the very substance of reality, the glue that binds all things, the light that never goes out even when you forget it for a time. That version of you in the water smiles at you, and somehow you know it is not separated from you. It is you, it always was. You had just forgotten to look. Breathe with that image, stay with it, and ask yourself, what do I need to release to be that version of myself? What beliefs, what fears, what stories about who I am must I free? You do not need to answer with the mind, just ask, and let the answer emerge in the days to come, in moments of silence, in dreams, in synchronicities. Because when you ask a real question, when you ask it from the heart, and not from the ego, the universe always responds. Always. Mary Magdalene asked questions, and the answers transformed her. You too can ask, and the answers will transform you too. There is one last aspect of her story that needs to be revealed. After Christ departed, after the apostles began to form the primitive church, after the structures began to solidify, Mary Magdalene disappeared from the official records. She simply vanishes. And that vanishing was not accidental. It was intentional. The first Christian communities that honored her were gradually marginalized, persecuted, declared heretical. Their texts were burned, their leaders were executed, and over time, only the official version of history remained, the version told by those who won political and religious power. But here is what is beautiful. Even in that official version, even after 2,000 years of suppression, her name persisted. They could not erase her completely. They could not make her disappear altogether. Because there are truths that are stronger than empires. There are lights that shine through the cracks of the thickest walls. And Mary Magdalene is that light. She is that truth that cannot be completely extinguished, because it is inscribed not only in ancient texts, but in the collective soul of humanity. And now in this moment of human history, when so many old structures are collapsing, when so many lies are being exposed, when so many people are awakening to the need for balance, for honesty, for integration, her voice is being heard again. The manuscripts that were hidden are being read. The questions that were silenced are being asked again. And people are remembering that true spirituality was never about blind obedience to institutions, but but about direct experience of the divine. It was never about controlling others, but about freeing yourself. It was never about creating hierarchies between men and women, between races, between classes, but about recognizing that we all share the same light, the same source, the same divine essence. Mary Magdalene returns, not physically. She returns as archetype, as symbol, as reminder, as invitation. She returns in every person who chooses wisdom over ignorance, love over fear, unity over separation. She returns in you when you decide to look beyond what you have been taught and discover what you always knew. The hidden manuscripts that reveal the true mystical role of Mary Magdalene are not only in Nag Hammadi, they are not only in ancient libraries, they are written in your heart. They always were. These words only reminded you where to look. Now look, keep looking, never stop looking, because every time you look inward with honesty, with presence, with openness, you discover something new, or rather you remember something ancient, and with each memory, you become a little more who you really are, a little more complete, a little more free, a little more light, and eventually, after enough practice, after enough remembering, the separation between you and the light disappears completely, and then you know with a certainty that goes beyond words, beyond doubt, beyond fear, you and the light are one. They always were. You just forgot for a time, and now you have remembered, and that memory is your salvation. It is your liberation. It is your return home. Mary Magdalene was waiting for you there, and now that you have arrived, she embraces you, she blesses you, she recognizes you as brother, as sister, as companion on the eternal path back to unity. Welcome home, welcome to yourself, welcome to the light that never left you, even though you left it for a time. Now shine, shine without fear, shine without limit, shine because that is your nature, shine because that is how you honor all that Mary Magdalene represented, taught and was. Shine because the world needs your light, and shine because you finally remembered that you can. If this found you, let your light guide others. If this awakens something in you, share it with those who are ready to remember. Do it from love. Do it from unity. Do it knowing you are not giving something that is yours. You are sharing something that belongs to everyone. The light, the truth, the love, that were never anyone's monopoly, that were always everyone's inheritance, and that now in this moment, in this awakening, return to those willing to receive them. Be one of them. Be light. Be light. Be Mary Magdalene reborn in the world, not as imitation, as expression, as continuation, as the next step in the eternal dance, as you, completely, finally, you,